Hello, Daniel the naturopath. I want to talk to you about allergies again from the other podcast on the or video on the milk allergy, dairy allergies, etc. So now I want to talk about bread. So, like I said, a lot of the allergies we have to breads and different foods may be coming from vaccines. They come from all these wheat proteins and albumin proteins that you find when you can actually get a hold of a true list of what's inside the vaccines. You'll find these products in there. You'll even find, nuts like peanut. You'll find different types of protein powders. And yeah, they're trying to get us allergic to everything. I'm sure that they have their reasons, their scientific reasons. Well, this is just to trigger the allergic response, and whatever. So this is why a lot of us are allergic through vaccines, but it also comes out through all the other things we've done. We have done a lot of different things to the environment. So hold on one second, let me turn that back on. But so a lot of things that industrial foods have done to the environment, to the soil. So there's multifactorial stuff going on here. Vaccines are just one element of many. It's a ubiquitous thing now, but there is that if you want to trace the exact origin, it's closer to that. That's when it started happening anyway in society. So the next thing would be, well, how to find some healthy bread. Most of it's not healthy. Most of the bread that you buy in America does not work. I can't trust bread anywhere here. There's some artisan bakers that are doing some good things. I have yet to find, with the exception of maybe emmer and einkorn and certain grains that are done right through like old world grains that are done through a more acidic kind of sour fermentation, liquid sourdough, things like that. These type of bread, heavier kind of breads, heavier, physically, but also, they have a little acidic taste. They're great with butter. You don't have to eat a ton of it, but these kind of things are the only thing I've found to have been possible without any sort of digestive issues. Now, I'm coming from 15 years on French soil and living there, so my digestion is capable of detecting the differences in the soil and the differences in these breads that maybe others do not detect as much, so it's more poignant or sharp. But I have not found any breads that work here, that don't create that. And every time you're creating that kind of like flatulence or any of these, things that are happening when you're eating these foods, it's something that's not being digested properly. And it's okay, 1-2 times the body's, strong, right? But if you're always bringing this in, then you're always creating this level of inflammation. And something, which will appear in the fecal matter, will appear in jagged edges, there'll be different color, like you won't have this picture perfect, poo going on where things are you're detoxifying properly daily. And so that was a big thing for me as a naturopath to read when you go to the toilet, pay attention what's happening, and and even if the body adapts to certain things, it can adapt to very bad things, because it's intelligent, the body, but there's always consequences for that adaptation. Even if they don't come out yet, like when you're in your 20s and maybe even your 30s, 36 or whatever it is, boom, they start hitting and you're like, whoa, what happened to my skin tone? What happened to my, my look? What happened to all these things are changing and rapidly. Well, it's all, the bills are coming, and so best way to avoid it, I think, like you can go to Russian shops, find their sourdough breads, their rye breads from other soils, better rye, Latvia, different soils. I would do that if I was most people in America. Another one is Jewish rye, which comes from Westphalia in Germany. This is exported all throughout the world in these little square blocks. Most of the little Jewish breads and these little square blocky kind of breads that you buy, they're not actually Jewish. It's typically, These are German breads and Irish breads and Scandinavian breads. So they've just appropriated it, but and also to their credit, they've kept some of those traditions going to a certain degree because they saw the value in those things, and we're probably around certain origins too. So in Germany, the bread, a lot of these rye breads, they don't. When you buy breads from the supermarket, even these compact little square packs that we've seen, they use like beet, malt, whatever they can to make it look the color it is. They're cheating. So you need to get the real version, which doesn't have beet or malt. It just has the rye, and that they cook it. They slow cook it for 20 hours. That brings this Maillard effect of browning that makes it that dark color, because it's a slow cooked, slow fermented. The whole process has a power to it. And what happens is, through that process, which you can fake through colorings, you retain the vitamin E. The vitamin E is retained. Now, you could say, well, I get vitamin E from this, that, and the other. But if you look traditionally at where people got certain things in their foods, you'll be blown away by what we're doing today. And in one of the highest, one of the best places that people found, the most richest place to find vitamin E and even magnesium to a big degree in the ancient world was through bread. That was their daily source of these two elements. And you have nuts and different things like that, but this was the most powerful source of it. So getting that in the body on a daily basis is very important. And it doesn't trigger as much as the allergy, unless you already have so many triggers with the allergy because of all the bad stuff you've had to put in yourself in America and avoid this, that, and the other. So I would recommend this bread and this bread alone. You can order it online too, even if you can't find it at like Whole Foods or something. But trying to heal this, get the right bread, the right soil, the right everything, and then you can use that as your carb. You can use it for everything. Just the bread, you can take a slice, throw it in a processor with some what is it? Not cilantro, but parsley. Cut some parsley, some beets, throw it in a little processor with this bread, and then you have this amazing little tabbouleh, which is just like tasty soil. Bring back some of that soil, with the beet or whatever, and very simple stuff. You can add, vinaigrette or whatever you want to that, but so simple things, but you can use them for everything, and I also use like potatoes as well for carbs, but I usually fry them. I do it with half butter, half olive oil mixture, and then I process the potatoes to make them into little pieces. It almost looks like hash browns kind of thing. So that slows the carb down, because the carbs, if I eat like 5 or 6 potatoes, like small ones, like my blood sugar goes up and down, And so I've noticed that if I fry them with the right oil, not buy them fried, and do it at home and then use that, then I don't have the blood spiking problem, when I eat them. So kids are right. Fried foods are better. They knew it. We're just finally getting around to the health benefits of fried foods, but the problem is we just used all the wrong oils. So we screwed it all up. If you look at the history of even like, fish and chips, in England or whatever, that, this whole movement was started through the tail. This was the part that had some meat on it, but it was like kind of spiny, and so they would just fry it, and that's where that started, and they would fry it in tallow, beef tallow, which is like beef fat. So we've come a long way from that, and so that's why we're getting in so much trouble. So can you imagine all the available beef tallow we could have if we started just having proper grass-fed and, moved away from the USDA soy process, where we feed everything soy somehow, or even if we don't feed them soy, we go into the grass-fed world and we feed them canola pulp because it's not a grain, and therefore it can be under grass-fed. And then we can finish it, the cow, differently because we get allowed to say grass-fed because we don't have to say grass-finished. Like all these, they're getting us, man. It's so deceptive. Even brands of ham, they look like they're from Italy. They're not. You really have to be so careful. They're so tricky, Like, so Um, anyway, um, but so as far as bread, that's what I recommend. Um, and then you won't have these problems. You might have to stay away from bread completely for a certain amount of time to heal, to let whatever thyroid or endocrine or allergic gut reaction heal. You may have to heal the gut completely through something like the GAPS diet, where you're paying attention to like some fermented foods and broth and butyric acid coming through like certain fats, maybe your goat ghee, for example, and you could do these things and build up a little bit more strength. And then the gelatin in the broth is going to help with the, the, the walls of the cells and, help with the leaky gut um, and the fermentation. So this whole combination, you know, um, can help you get back on track, and then you can bring the right breads back in certain dosage. So the goal is not to just gluten-free bread everything, because then we move away from how the problem got started. And it is okay to do some of that for certain periods, but like you have to kind of figure out what's happening with the problem. Not only in yourself, but in yourself and the world. But through yourself, if you can heal it, then the world has a better chance of getting a proper transmission from you because you did it in yourself. And that's what I've had to do. I can't, there's tons of things I can't even touch with wheat, but I've found tons of things I can just because I figured out the way. I mean, not like I'm some whatever, but like I went through a lot of pain to figure it out. So if I can help you go through less pain, then that would be nice, right? So there you go. That's a few things on bread allergy or gluten allergy. A lot of it also comes from the soil. They've proven that whenever you combine rye and wheat farms where they're, cultivating both, that the soil is much stronger. So we've stopped doing all this. That's how farms were before. Rye was always a part of it. Now it's no longer a part of it. So, and now we use all sorts of soy and different things in the ground to try to bring back things into it. And it's just, yeah, we just getting lost, man. So coming back to our senses and copying the traditions the way they were set out and maybe adding some modern, things to that, of course, but like wisdom, I guess. So anyway, why do I have this magnesium here in the corner? Well, just because that's another way to get the magnesium now that we can't find it properly in everything else. So it's through the skin, for example. But anyway, yeah, I think that's it. So if you have any questions or comments, you can always send me a mail. Thanks.